Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another Art at Home. We are getting close to the end. I mean real close. We've only got a few more classes until the summertime. We are continuing our animation. Yesterday we worked on a Zoetrope. Today we're going to be doing a Zoetrope. Some of the tools we'll be needing today is we'll be needing glue. We'll also be needing a black marker. Well, depending if you have all the materials or not, you may not need the black marker. I have a pen, I have an eraser, as well as a pencil, a ruler. Couldn't find my ruler, so I'm borrowing my daughter's. Scissors. Okay, so these are the tools we are going to need today for our project. So put this off to the side. And our materials that we're going to need is a piece of cardboard, as well as a dowel, a straw, a pencil, things like that. As long as it's a hard stick, you can use it, and it's thin, a thin hard stick. Like I said, if you have a brand new pencil that you don't mind ruining, you could use that as well. But I have a dowel here, it works better. And also we're going to need a couple pieces of cardstock. I have two pieces of cardstock paper. This is 8 by 11 and 8.5 by 11 inch paper. That's a little bit thicker than your typical Xerox copy paper. Okay. All right. So these are the materials. If you have a piece of black construction paper, that would be good. But I don't have any black construction paper at home, so I'm going to be using a black Sharpie. If you guys have acrylic paint or any kinds of black paint that you could use, you could also use that, but I'm going to show you what it's going to be used for later. It's not going to be something you're going to use right away. So yeah, these are the materials we're going to need, and yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this step by step. I'm going to be working pretty quickly. These are from scratch Zoetropes. There are Zoetropes you can make if you have internet connection, and you can go to internet websites that have prefabricated Zoetropes. You guys can do that too, but I think it's always a little bit more special when you create it from within yourself, because it's more personalized and you have more of a connection to it, rather than taking someone else's artwork and using it towards your project. Making everything yourself, I think, to me, that's a lot more fulfilling doing it yourself. Okay, so first step, we're going to need our two pieces of cardstock paper. I'm only starting off with my first one because I cannot work on two papers at once. But like I said, this is going to be very step by step, so we're going to move kind of quickly through those steps. If you guys want to watch the video all the way through to understand how to do this, and then come back and do step by step with me, that's fine. But as it is right now, I'm just going to give you the steps on how to put it all together. This is going to be very time consuming. It did take me a long time to do this when I did my first one, which was about a few hours ago. But anyway, now that I'm doing this with you, I want to make sure that this video is nice and tight and as short as possible. Okay, so we're getting started right now. All right, so take your first piece of paper and you're going to measure using your ruler 10 inches down the horizon. Okay, down the horizontal. So basically my paper is horizontal. It's a landscape, for those of you that want to use that term. And as you can see, it is 11 inches long. And what I want to do is I want to put a mark at the 10. And then I'm going to turn my paper over. And then opposite side, instead of marking where the 10 is, I'm going to mark where the 1 inch is. Okay. So now I have these two marks, one at the 10 and one at the 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line them up. And then I'm going to draw a dotted line coming down. Okay, you see this dotted line? This is going to be where we fold the Zoetrope together. Okay, so this is, we're not drawing on that part there. So now I'm going to measure halfway from the edge of my paper vertically. So I know it's 8.5 inches tall. So what is half of 8.5? That's going to be 4 1/4. So what I do is I measure 4 1/4. Then I turn my paper over this way, and I measure 4 1/4 again, 4 1/4 inch. And that's going to be the very center of my paper. Or at least it should be. Yeah. Okay, so then I line up those lines there. And I draw a line going across. Like that. So this is my midpoint of my paper. Alright, the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to line my let's do it this side. I am going to line my paper up again, and this time I'm going to measure out 1 1/4 inch marks, okay? So starting from the left side where it says 0 going to 11, we're going to start over here. So 0 to 1 is 1 inch, but I want 1 1/4 inch. So 0 to 1 plus 1/4 more. I'm going to measure that all the way down. So I'm going to put a little mark on top of my ruler to tell me that it's going to be a 1 1/4 measurement every mark. So I move my ruler down to where the first mark I put is, and I measure again to 1 1/4. And I put another mark, move it down to the 0, line it up with my paper, down to the 1 1/4 mark. And I keep going all the way down until I get to the very end where my dotted line is. Because it should measure perfectly. I should have 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my 6th one. 6. 7. And that should be 1 1/4 inch. Alright, I may have measured off a little bit. Yeah, my first time that I marked my paper, I put it over too much to the right, so I'm just going to redo that again. But anyway, it's going to be 1 1/4 inch. So let me adjust my measurements because it's slightly off. I did a millimeter, one of these little marks off. So I'm just going to correct that really quick. And then using my eraser, I'll just go ahead and erase the first dot that I put down. So ultimately, what you want is you want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 separations that are 1 1/4 inch apart from each other equally. Okay? Once you have these markings down, it's going to get easier. I'm going to put my ruler off to this side. And now I'm going to use, on my second paper, I'm going to use all the information that I have here on this paper, and I'm going to copy it over. So I'm going to line my papers up evenly. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my marks matching up with the other marks that I put on my previous paper. And this is going to make my job a lot easier because I don't have to go ahead and measure everything out over and over again. Okay, see that? So I'm able to measure all of my lines going across the bottom on top of my other paper. Alright? And now from here, I can put my papers side by side and I can get my middle line measured. Put my paper on the other side, line it up. Get that line. Okay. Now what I'm supposed to do is from here, I need to put these same marks on the top, on the bottom. So I'm going to use this as my ruler. So taking my paper and moving it down to the bottom of my second sheet, I'm just going to go ahead and line them up on top of each other. And from here, making sure that it's straight. From here, I'm going to put the marks on the bottom. So I overlap my paper, and now I'm putting those marks that were on my first paper onto my second paper. Just like that. So I have all my marks here on this paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this paper that I finished marking, put it on top of my first paper, and now I'm going to do the same thing, marking the top of my first paper. And that's it. Now, let me finish the first paper, and we'll come back to the second one. I have all the marks down though. I have the marks on the top, marks on the bottom, and marks on the side. But we're gonna go ahead and finish this one up so we know what we're doing, okay? So lining up the lines that we did on the top and the bottom, these 1 1/4 inch apart marks, we're gonna go ahead and take our ruler and draw a line coming down to that mark. So connecting the top mark to the bottom mark, and now we're making these cells. Okay, 1/4 inch long, wide cells that are approximately 4 1/4 inch tall or long. So like I said, yeah, this dotted line here is going to end up actually going, because we're gonna take these papers together, and this dotted line is gonna end up going behind this paper, and it's gonna be like glued together. And then we're gonna go ahead and wrap it around and do the same thing on this side. So let me just show you. So now that we have this is done being marked. Well, for the most part, this is basically what we want. Okay. We're gonna have 8 cells that are 1 1/4 inch wide, 4 1/4 inch tall, and then we're gonna have 1 cell that's 4 1/4 inch tall and 1 inch wide. And this is the part that we're gonna be overlapping and folding into this paper. Okay, so now that we have that finished, let's go ahead and do the lines over here. So this 1 inch side, remember, it needs to be a dotted line. That's to remind us that this is the part that we are not using for our animation. And then we're going to use this ruler to finish up the lines going from the top to the bottom. And I'll do this really quick. Okay, so we are done with our measuring of our papers. So we're good to go. Okay, so now that we have our grid all planned out for us, we have 2 sheets of paper that look identical. Okay, look exactly the same. Same separation, same distances, same height, same dotted line going along the side, perfect. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to think of an idea, or we're going to think of something that we're going to animate. And there's lots of things that you guys can do. That's why we drew the animals over the past couple of weeks. We drew form people, so that you guys can get more comfortable with drawing things like animals or people on top of our little animation thing here. So what you want to do is you want to draw your animation on the bottom row, these lines on the bottom here. You're not going to draw anything up here on the top of the paper, okay? And you're not going to draw anything on the top of this paper here. Everything is going to be drawn on the bottom group of 8 per paper, okay? So you have a total of 16 frames to give us an idea of what it is you want to explain, or what it is what kind of story you want to tell. Inside the Zoetrope, when I did the twisty one, we did a bee that was flying. You guys, if you want to draw a picture of a bird flying, like flapping its wings, you're going to draw a picture of a bird in motion or flapping its wings. And every frame here, you draw the picture of the bird. The wings are going to change. Okay, so in one picture the wing can be up, next picture the wings can be slightly down, next picture the wings can be more down, and finally the wings can be all the way down. And then it'll have this effect where it's going to look like it's flying all by itself when we're done with this project. Okay, I'm going to show you what I mean. So what I decided to do was I decided to make a animation of a frog jumping. Okay, so in order to do that, I am going to start with my frog here sitting on the ground. So perfect shape for a frog for me would probably be a round triangle. Okay, this rounded triangle kind of looks like a Dorito chip, is going to represent the body of my frog. Now when my frog jumps, when you draw cartoons, you have to do something called stretch or expand to make things look like they're exaggerating motion. So if this is my typical shape of my frog, and you know what, I'll go ahead and finish the picture of the frog so that you guys can get an idea of what I mean by this is my frog. Okay, so this is my body of my frog, and then I'm going to have one ovular line here and one ovular line here, and those are the legs. And then I'm going to go ahead and put two circles side by side, and that's going to be his eyes. Okay, and then I'm going to put two ovals behind him, and those are going to be his back legs. So these are his front legs, these are his back legs, and then we have his eyes. Okay, you can add more or less detail depending on, you know, what you're drawing, but I want to get this done quickly, so I want to show you guys exactly how this frog is going to move. Alright, so the next step is I want to make it look like it's leaping. So if this is my first photograph that I took of my frog, which is just sitting there, the second photograph, I want to make the frog look like it's charging up a jump, like he's squatting down ready to pounce. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this original shape, this Dorito shape, is I'm going to make it stretched, and I'm going to make it squat. Okay, so it's getting shorter. You notice it's much shorter than the first triangle and a lot wider. So it's shorter and wider because it's starting to build up that energy to burst. All right? And I'm going to put one arm in front, two arm in front, and then my back legs are going to be extremely pushed out to the side. See that? And his eyes, instead of being two ovals standing side by side, kind of like a sand crab, I want to make them kind of squished, like even the eyes are squishing down. Okay, so I'm going to put the eyes smashed. Now it looks funny right now. When you look at the frame, it looks, oh, that doesn't look like a frog. It looks like it was squished. Well, we're not going to see individual frames. We're going to actually be seeing them passing really quick. So that's not really even going to matter. So I'm going to elongate even the pupils inside the eye to make them all gross. Okay, and then the third picture, I'm going to make them even more flat and even more wide. I mean, like, this is ridiculous. This is getting to the point where, man, this frog is going to explode. It's getting squished. The eyeballs, guess what, are also going to be even more squished. I'm stretching this thing out like it got run over by a car. Hands are still in the front. Legs are kicked out even more to the side. And then finally, this next part is going to have him bursting forward. Okay? So we're going to draw a picture of him exploding upward. Okay? And this time we're going to have the lower leg exposed. Okay, so here you can see the frog sitting regular, him getting squat, and then now he's going to be bursting up. Okay, now I'm going to raise the shape. Now my Dorito shape is going to be floating higher. And I'm going to put the two hands in front of the chest. The legs are going to be sticking out to the side. And then the feet are going to be towards the middle where they started off. And then the eyes are going to be a little bit squished again, just a little bit. And it's going to be looking up. See that? And then I'm going to draw it taller. Even higher. Drawing the eyes again. Hands down again. My legs are starting to straighten out in the back. Back legs are following. See that? I'm going to draw him higher, even higher. And I'm making sure to kind of keep my original size of my Dorito about the same size. You don't want to make it too much bigger or too much smaller. You want to make it around the same size, because it's going to look really weird if you have a body that's like super huge in one thing, in one frame, and then you have it really small in another frame. Okay, so here's the build up and the jump. Draw it even higher. Now the legs are pretty much together. Eyeballs. Okay, and basically the next picture that I draw is going to be on this paper. Okay, so here's my frames as they're working. Okay, so the frog starts off on the ground, and now he's squat and he leaps into the air. So you can kind of see how the motion is going to happen. Okay, on the next paper, I'm going to show the frog perfectly in the air, exactly where he wants to be. Perhaps, you know what, I'll even begin his descent starting here, because I know I have him at his very basic sitting position here. So in the beginning of this frame, I want to have him at his basic in the middle of the air, ready to descend. So in this group of frames, I'm going to have him going into the air, and in this group of frames, I'm going to having him coming back to the ground so he can land again to start over again, because this is going to be a loop. So on this next frame, I'm going to draw the frog, and he's going to be around the same size as he started. But now I'm going to start bending his legs a little. And then I'm going to draw his eyes looking towards us, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to begin his descent back to the ground. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to plan ahead. So if I put the last frame here, what I want to do is I want to actually show this last frame here having him landing, where previously. I'm going to make this one the squat one, kind of like this. So we're going to make the triangle a little bit squished. The eyeballs a little bit squished. Kind of like this second frame here. We're going to almost copy that. Not as much though. This one's going to be him landing, so it's not as bad. Okay, his eyes, his hands, and his legs. Okay, so here's where we want to end. And that way when it loops around again, this picture will be starting back at the beginning, and it'll go back up again, and it'll come back down again. Alright, so let's move that off to the side. So this is where I want to end. So now my frog is going to slowly turn in midair. And now his eyes are actually going to be in the middle of his body, because he started jumping up like this, and now he's going to land down like that. So if his eyes are up here on the top of his head, you can see as he jumps up, his eyes are on the top, and when he turns back down, you see the way the pencil is now in the middle of the body? That's the same kind of thing we're going to do. And we're going to keep the hands in the same place, and we're going to put the legs. The legs are a little bit spread out, so I might want to copy that same spread outness. Okay, so here we have him jumping, and now he's falling back down. So now we're making the Dorito chip in the other direction, and his eyes are slowly starting from the top, working its way down the body. Then his hands go in front of him. See that? And now he's headed back down. We have this gradual drop. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make the frog a little bit skinnier and longer. And this is telling us that there's speed that's coming into play, and it's creating kind of like an illusion that it's moving really fast. And you know, when you move really fast like this, you leave kind of like this shadow of your flesh behind, and that's just your brain trying to catch up with what your eyes are seeing. All right, so we're kind of giving it that same kind of blur kind of thing by making the body elongated. Okay, there's the legs. Lengthen those legs, and then now I can make the eyeballs stretched out too. So I have 1, 2, 3 more frames. This frame here, I want it to be more squat than this one because he is landing. So I have this really wide Dorito chip. The legs are really spread out. The arms are right there in front of him, and his eyeballs are kind of just like, okay. So there's the second to last frame, and then we're going to play with these last 2 frames. This one has to have him falling down slightly bit more, and this one has to have him landing with an impact. Yeah. So let's draw this long again. The eyes long too. The legs stretched out behind it. The front legs reaching out in front of it. See that? And finally, it landing on the ground. And I'm going to even out the shape of the frog to look more like the first frog that we drew here in the beginning, because he's starting to land, so it has the most natural. The one at the top of the jump and the one where he's starting to land should look very similar. Okay, so there we have the entire animation, just like that. So we have the frog building up momentum and leaping into the air and falling back to the ground and splat and then he's back to normal again. So if this keeps looping around and around, you're just going to see this motion. Or at least you should see that motion when we put our zoetrope together, okay? So after you're done drawing out your animation, you came up with an idea, you drew out each picture telling us it could be a ball bouncing, it could be a frog jumping, it could be a bird flying, it could be a person walking, it can be whatever you want to make it. But you have to make sure that you think of those parts when whatever it is moving. If you even want, you can put like a bomb. Like you can put a little landmine, and you can even show it exploding. Like you can show it exploding over and over again. But you have to imagine that each frame is going to be a picture of that thing moving. Okay, so if I did a punch forward, when you animate the punch going forward, you have to animate it with the fist coming into the screen. Another picture, another picture, and then you have to draw the pictures moving back after the punch. And then you'd have something, you'd look like something's punching over and over again, okay? And that's how you make animations. Alright, so once you have all your pictures completed, that's where your other pen comes in. And what you're going to do with this pen is you are going to outline all of the work that you just did with a marker, okay? This is a Micron number 8. It's a thicker, one of the thickest nibs on top of the Micron markers or pens. And these are really good. Okay, you don't want your picture to be too thin, because if you use pencil and you leave it like this, or if you use a really thin nib for your marker, you're not going to be able to see it when you're actually using the zoetrope. So use something that's a little bit thicker. The nib on top of this bad boy is pretty good. Let me just kind of... So the nib on this guy is really good. Like, he's pretty thick. Sorry, let me get that over the paper so you can see that. Okay, so this is a good size. So if you have a Micron, number 8 is a winner. And then you can just go ahead and draw in all the lines that you just drew for your animation, and then you're ready for the next step. Okay, so I decided to outline and ink my frog and add a few details. I put a little bit more detail in the face. I gave him spots on his back, and then I also gave this little shadow here to tell us that it's actually grounded in reality, some kind of reality where it's standing on ground. So as you can see, when the frog jumps up and gets higher and higher, of course naturally the shadow should get smaller and smaller until there's enough light below the object to make it look like there's no shadow at all. But of course the frog doesn't get off the ground high enough to completely lose its shadow, so it has a smaller shadow at the very top, the very apex of its jump. It has a very small shadow, and as it comes back down to the ground and lands, the shadow gets wider so that it can accommodate for the amount of darkness that it's blocking out in the ground. Okay, so once you get this finished, once you have your drawings inked in using your thin pen, your thin marker, you're going to take your black pen, or if you have black paper, what you're going to do is, I'm gonna show you with this cardboard, is you are going to cut out a strip of black paper that's going to cover this entire half section here. Okay? Enough to cover up this whole top section. Alright? So that's what you're going to do. If you have construction paper black or any kind of dark black paper, or even a dark value should be okay, but I would stick to black. Black makes the animation a lot better. If you don't have paper like I do not, then I'm going to go ahead and use my marker. Alright, so the marker, all I'm going to do is I'm going to color half of my animation frames, which is the opposite side of where I actually drew. So everything above this line in midway, I'm going to color this black. If you have acrylic paint or India ink, or if your parents do any kind of painting like that, they can help you with this part and paint that part. It'll be much quicker than using a Sharpie like I have. Or if you have a black marker, then you have to do the same thing I do. But we're just going to color in this entire half section. I'm going to show you that right now. So this is the next step, okay? So what I'm going to do is, starting from the middle, I'm going to color up and away from my drawing. Okay, so you're probably wondering why I didn't go over the dotted lines, and that's because, if you don't remember, what I said was we're going to tuck the dotted line in underneath the drawing here, and on this side we're going to tuck it in as well, so it's going to make a circle. Okay, so you're not even going to see that dotted line, anything past this dotted line, so it would be a waste for us to even worry about putting anything there. Okay, so ultimately this is what you're going to do. You're going to make this entire area black here, all the rest of this frame here, and the only thing that's going to be white is just the part where you have drawing and the part that we're going to overlap and glue or tape together. Okay, so that's it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and do this off screen, and you guys will see what it looks like when it's all finished. Okay, so I'm just going to do it real quick. Alright, so I took the liberty to go ahead and color in my frog. I made him green and yellow, and then I also gave a little place for the frog to sit. So it lines up really well. It shows the frog jumping and landing. You can still kind of see the shadow on the floor where the frog leaps off. Okay, so now that we're done with the actual animation, and oh, I noticed that on the top I didn't go all the way to the top with my black marker. It's not necessary to go all the way to the top when you're using a marker. If you're using a piece of construction paper to paste over this area, then you can go all the way to the end, but you don't need to go all the way to the end if you're using markers. That way you can save some ink for other projects. I don't like to, I know art supplies can be very expensive, so I try to save where I can save, and right now this is not that big a deal. I can clean it up later by drawing a straight line across and just kind of filling in those white little areas where it's all scratchy. I can go ahead and fill that in later, but right now it's not a big deal. I just want to show you guys what it should look like. So half of your frames should be your drawing, and the other half should just be this black bar up at the top. Okay, so this right now as it is finished. We're gonna move this off to the side, and now we're gonna move on to the cardboard piece that we had earlier. Now we need to measure out a 6 1/3 inch square, because we're gonna make a circle. In order for us to make a circle, we're gonna need to measure out a square on this cardboard. Okay, so I'm gonna locate 6 1/3 inch on here. So what is 1/3 of an inch? So if I come to 6, here's my 6 inches here. Now I'm gonna measure from here first. Okay, so 6 inches is this long, from this edge to this end of the ruler here, but I want 1/3 more of an inch. So how would I know how much is 1/3 of an inch? Well, there's these small little marks next to the in between the numbers 6 and 7. There's these small marks, and I count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 marks till halfway, and I'm assuming 16 all the way to 7. So we only want 1/3. So what is 1/3 of 16? It's about 5. It's a little bit more than 5. So if I count these little marks, 1 2 3 4 5, it's right after the 1/4 inch mark. So I'm just going to mark right above the 5 mark on my ruler, the 1 2 3 4 5 little lines in between the inches, and that's going to be 1/3. Okay, so this is going to be my 1/3 measurement, marking that there, and then I'm going to line up my cardboard box with that 1/3 measurement, and I'm going to go ahead and mark where the 0 is. So there's my first mark, coming up to this mark here. Then I'm going to turn my cardboard over, and I want to measure the other side so that I can get an even measurement. And for the most part, this cardboard box is about cut even. I know I use this cardboard box many times for other projects, but It does not need to be precise. We're not building a house. So let's go ahead and draw that line there. So now we have about how wide our square should be, which is here 6 1/3 inch. So now we're gonna measure the other edge and putting a ruler at the edge there and marking at the 6 1/3, turning my paper over, measuring again. 6 1/3 goes to the edge on this side. I'm going to mark off by the 0. Using my ruler, I'm going to draw a line between those two marks. Oh my gosh, my pencil just went like right through that cardboard. Oh boy, that's not a good thing. Alright, so now I have my marks going vertical and horizontal. I can take my scissors. I'm going to cut here first since this is already kind of damaged. That's terrible. Okay, so we'll go ahead and cut along that line to create our square. Cut from the other side because that'll be easier for me. Just like that. Okay, now I'm going to clear off this small 1/2 inch mark here. Alright, so like I was telling you, we're making a circle with this square. Some of you guys probably have a compass or one of those measuring tools that you can put your pencil in and there's a sharp tip and then you can draw perfect circles using those tools, but unfortunately Mr. D doesn't have one. So we're going to try our best to eyeball out a circle, and in order to figure out how to make a circle we need to know where the center of this square is so that we can begin our circle. And the easiest way for me to do that is taking my ruler, putting it in the corners of my shape, my square, and drawing a line diagonally across my square, going on to the other side, and once again drawing a line going across my square. Okay, can you see that? Alright, so now where the two lines intersect, that's the center of my cardboard piece. I may have to ask your parents, you may have to ask your parents to help you with this next part, because what you're going to do is you're actually going to stab a hole in it. Okay, so I can use my pencil. A pencil is strong enough to go through this cardboard. What I'm going to do is put my paper flat on my desk. Ask your parents to do this part. Take your pencil, put it right in the center of your X, and press. That's going to make a hole. See that hole? And now what I do is I take my pencil and using my fingers to go around my pencil, just bracing the back, I'm just going to go ahead and add pressure and twist and pressure, and I'm going to go real slow. I'm not going to go super fast so I can stab my finger on the other side. There, you see that? Now my pencil is stuck to my board and I can spin it. Pretty cool, huh? Whoa. Okay, so I'm going to pull my pencil out, and now I still need to make a circle. Alright, now my circle has to be a radius of 3 1/4 inches. So 3 1/4 inch is about how big our circle is going to go around. But like I said, I don't have that fancy tool that has the pointy thing in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pinky and I'm going to shove my pinky on top of that hole. And then I'm going to go ahead and set my drawing pencil up to the edge of my square. And from here, keeping my hand straight, I'm just going to turn the cardboard box around in a circle. Just like that. Keep turning until I have a nice sized circle. Okay, so right now I just eyeballed myself a circle using my fingers, and that goes all the way to the edge, just like that. Easy enough, right? So you just put your finger, your pinky inside the hole here, extend your pencil out with your hand, hold it tight, and just spin your paper around all the way till you get back to your starting position, and now we have ourselves a circle on top of our paper. Alright, so now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut my circle out. Oops. It's okay if it's not perfect. Like I said, we're not building a house. But you want to try and make it as circular as possible because we will be spinning this bad boy. Okay. So here's my disc, here's my rubbish, throw away my rubbish. Keep your area clean. You don't want anybody to have to clean up after you. Alright, so there's my disc. Now what's the next step, Mr. D? Well, now we're going to take our animations and we're going to get these bad boys all set up. Now what we're going to do to create our Zoetrope is this center line here, we're going to fold it so that the black is on one side and the drawing is on the other. Okay, so line it up so that it's as perfect as you can make it. Okay, and then you're going to go ahead and crease it so that one side has the darkness and the other side has the drawing. Just like that. Now you can see there's a little bit of white up here, and I want to kind of correct that using my pen. I didn't go all the way down to the center, so using my pen I'm just going to go ahead and black that out. And you're going to see in just a second why it needs to be this dark color, why it needs to be darkened. Okay, so once again, fold your paper in half so the dark side is on one side and the drawings are on the other. I'm going to go ahead and do that one more time. Lining that up. Okay, just like that. Looking at the other side, slightly white over on one side, so I'm just going to take my pen and correct that. If you're working with paper that isn't the right size that I requested, then there could be a little bit of problems, but like I was saying, I can just go ahead and draw a nice line going across the bottom here. Clean up all this unusual mess. Match up on the other side because that's where it's going to be touching. Okay, and then fill in those blanks with dark ink all the way to the end. Once we get to this point, we're ready to put this bad boy together. So I hope you have your tape and or glue. Actually, you're probably going to need both, because we're going to have to find a way to put all this stuff together, including the wooden dowel or the pencil that we were using earlier. Okay. Alright. So, this is what we're going to do. We have to overlap the artwork, and we have to glue them down or tape them down. So it's up to you what you want to do. You can use glue, you can use tape, but either way we have to get it down. So I'm just going to use tape, and I'm going to glue it right in the center where they connect, just like that. And coming to the other side, now that it's all nice and stuck together, I can take a long piece of tape and I can go ahead and tape it right in the middle, just like that. Okay? Alright, so now that that's stuck, here's my suggestion on the other side. What I suggest on this side is on the edge where you have that inch hanging off that's not colored, what you can do is you can angle a cut from both sides going in like that. Okay? And the reason why we do that is because when it's time to roll our paper around, it'll be easier for it to accept inside here if it were angled like an arrow like this. Okay, so we're gonna kind of do it like that. Okay, so we have the dark side on the outside. Oops. With the dark side on the outside, and we have the picture all on the inside. So this is how you want it to be. Do not put the picture on the outside. The picture actually needs to be inside. Okay, so you need to do that. Okay, so once you have your animation circle, your animation reel, all nice and taped up, we are ready to move on to the last couple of steps. You're going to take your circle that we cut out from our cardboard box, and we are going to put tape on the back where we drew our lines. Okay, so where you have the X, you're just going to put a nice 2-inch long piece of tape on each line that we drew, our X going across our circle. Make sure that it's affixed to your cardboard nice and secure. Use your nails or whatever, just lightly rub your tape and make sure that it's stuck to the circle. Alright, and now you can flip it over, and the sticky part should be facing down when you place it on top of your thing. So when you flip it over, now it's facing up. Okay, so we're going to take our animation and we're going to place it, sorry if my head's in the way, we're going to place it right around the ring. Okay, the ring should fit right inside. Okay, so using our hand and our fingers, we're just going to go ahead and crease the tape up so that it combines to the circle. Okay, I'm putting my finger on the inside of the animation and I'm rubbing it on the outside to give it support, so when I rub it together I don't break it in half or anything. So I'm just giving it a nice little rub. Okay, this is going to secure the cardboard in place on the bottom. So now that we have it all nice and neat, we can add a few more pieces of tape to be even more secure. So now I'm going to put tape, 2 inches of tape in between each of those other tapes that we had there. Make sure that they're secured nicely onto the cardboard, just like that. And fold them over to the animation roll, just like this. Okay. And securing it all the way around in a circle. We're almost there. Okay, so now this is the tricky part. What we're going to do is we are going to cut small strips inside our animation loop here. Okay, and the reason why we're going to do that is because we need a peephole. We need a peephole to look at our work. So check this out. See where all the lines are on the inside? You're going to cut a peephole alongside the inside. Alright, so you see all these lines that separate our animations here? All these lines? We're going to cut a 2-inch line. So basically all we're going to do is cut halfway. Okay? Halfway down the animation frame. And we're going to cut on the outside. We're going to cut on the outside of our animation line that we drew. Okay, you see that? So I cut on the outside of the line, and now I can pull this back, and you're going to see that I have my line going down the middle of this little strip. And then what I'm going to do after that is I'm going to snip it off. So now it's gone. Now I've created, or I chucked out this little hole here. And what that hole is used for is so we can see. This is our peeping hole where we're going to be able to see our animation move. So what we have to do is we've got to go around this entire circle and we've got to cut all 16 of these lines out. Every single frame has to have each one of these lines cut out from it, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. I'm gonna fast forward the film so that you guys can see this quickly. Okay, it does take patience and it does take time to cut out these little strips here. You can actually cut them out before you tape everything together. Like you can cut it as soon as you fold it in half, where you separate the darks and the animation. You can actually do this, but I don't know, for me it's easier to tape everything into place and then cut it than it is to cut it and then try to tape everything into place afterwards, and then it's going to be kind of weak because the integrity of the project goes down after you've made these slits. So it's a little bit more fragile. Okay, so I like to do them afterwards, and then I like to struggle with nipping off all these little pieces that are sticking out, these little spines. It's not too bad, but it does take patience and it does take a steady hand to cut down your zoetrope. But once you get it and once you snip off all these pieces, you are good to go. Now there could be it could be possible that you didn't cut far enough down on your zoetrope, and you have to make sure that it's halfway. Like I'm looking at this strip here and I'm looking at it, it's like that ain't halfway down. So I'm gonna have to go back and trim these up slightly to get them to go halfway down, so right in the middle. So if this is a 4 1/4 inch wide piece of paper, that cut has to come down 2 1/8 inches down, or at the very least 2 inches down. So if I take my ruler and I measure, this is a pretty good slice. That goes down 2 inches. But when you come over here, this slice is only 1.5 inches, so I'm gonna have to go and check that one, okay? But this is a good slice. Most of my slices should be mimicking this one here. This one is the perfect slice. So I'm just gonna go ahead and clean this up, and then I'm gonna show you the last step on finishing our zoetrope, okay? Okay, so this is it. I trimmed down my little peepholes to more of a 2 inch down, which it looks really, really good. And I'm gonna get ready for my last step, but I want you guys to look inside my animations, and you can see that none of them have really been affected by the cuts that I brought down into my zoetrope. Okay, so now that I have that hole inside there, I can either take my dowel, or I can take an unsharpened pencil and I can poke it down inside the hole right here, place it inside the hole, because what I want to do is I actually want to glue this pencil or this dowel. I'm going to use the dowel, so don't worry, I'm not going to waste my pencil on this, but I ultimately want to show you what it's going to look like, okay? So we're going to go ahead and stick the pencil in if you're using a pencil, or the dowel, and then you're going to put glue on the bottom and on the top, and then you're going to slowly move the pencil in and out of the hole so that the glue can attach itself to the cardboard box and the dowel or pencil. And then basically at the end, what you'll have is your zoetrope, and you can spin your zoetrope just like this. I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to pour glue on the top inch of my dowel, and then using my finger I'm just going to go ahead and rub the dowel all the way to the top with the glue. Wipe my finger off. Now, like I said, I like using the wood glue because it's tacky and it dries much quicker. But anyway, long story short, you're going to place your hand with your fingers around the hole inside your zoetrope, and then you're going to take your dowel or your pencil, and from the bottom you're going to slowly push it so that it enters into the hole. Okay, you don't want to push it too hard because it could do something like that where it just kind of like zooms in. Okay, and then I'm going to take some of my glue and I'm going to drop some glue down inside the middle of my zoetrope like that, and using my finger I'm just going to go ahead and rub it around the cardboard, bring it up slightly, and then using the glue on this side go ahead and add a little bit more glue to the base of the zoetrope, and then I'm going to go ahead and spin my finger around the zoetrope so that the glue gets into the hole, just like that. Okay, I'm going to add just a little touch more glue on the side there. It was a little bare. Okay, that should dry nice. Alright, now make sure that your stick, when you're looking at your stick, make sure that it's straight. Okay, try your best to kind of straighten it out. The friction alone should keep your stick in place until it dries. And if you're using wood glue like me, this should be dry in no time at all. Definitely not as long as it takes for Elmer's glue, but much slower than hot glue if your parents help you with that gluing process and using hot glue. I mean, you could always affix tape to the dowel and the bottom cardboard piece. You could always do that, but the glue is a little bit more permanent. Yeah, the tape can always kind of like, because you're gonna actually twist this dowel or the pencil, you're actually be spinning it. So the more you spin it, of course, if you use tape, the more likely it is to rip or come off. Okay, so we're gonna let this bad boy sit for a little while. We're gonna come back when it's dry, and I'm gonna show you what the zoetrope is going to do at the very end. Okay, so hang on. Hey, what's up, gang? Okay, so I'm losing light. The sun is going down, and I need to film this before before it's nighttime. So what I did was I just quickly, I have it. It's still wet. The glue is still wet inside the stick as well as inside the zoetrope. So what I ended up doing was to hurry up and get it nice and fixated to the stick itself. What I did was I just grabbed some hot glue, and I just quickly added some hot glue to the base, and I slid this other piece of cardboard down to make it faster. I wanted to show you guys how to do it with just the Elmer's glue or the wood glue, but I'm running out of time. It's getting dark. I'm gonna lose light pretty soon. But basically, once it's done drying, you're gonna see that I have one of these here and one on the inside so that it could hurry up and dry. What you're gonna see is on the inside, you're gonna see all the drawings that I did for my zoetrope. Okay, and the idea is to spin it, and when you spin it, you're gonna be able to make out an animation. But as I'm spinning it now, you're gonna notice that it's just blur. The pictures are all blurred together. It just looks like this green line is moving around and around inside. Okay, and that is where these little holes in the side of our zoetrope come in. These act as shutters, and they block out the picture so it looks more like it is animated rather than blurry. So these things actually are here to help us, and that's the reason why the picture is on the inside rather than being on the outside, so we can spin it and see it. So we're going to be looking through these little holes, these peepholes. And for those of you that are interested in like knowing the exact measurement of how, like, say you guys just want to measure, because Mr. D, I don't know how wide to cut my peephole. You can do a 1/4 inch. That's fine. 1/4 inch is just fine. Just make sure that when you cut it, it's on the lines on each frame, not in the middle, so that the cut is going towards the top of your drawing, but it's going to the side of your drawing. So if you look at each one of my drawings here, even this one where the frog is jumping really high, he's still in between the frame. He doesn't have this cut going through his face. So make sure that it's on the line, that it's going down the line instead of the middle of the artwork, okay? So now I'm going to show you what it's going to look like by leaning the Zoetrope sideways, okay? So I'm going to try and do this as easy as possible with this. So you can see, you can peek and see the drawings on the inside there of the actual animations on the inside there, yeah? Now remember, when I spun it this way it was blurry, but now using these spokes on the inside, you're gonna notice that you can make it out now. You can see the animation moving inside. I'm trying to get it on top of my hand and spin it. Okay, hang on. So now you can see the frog ribbit jumping. And you need those lines there to separate your eye and the pictures so that it doesn't look blurry as you spin it. So the faster you spin it, the faster your frog looks like it's jumping. The slower you spin it, the slower the animation, the slower the frog looks like it's jumping. So let's try to find an even kind of jump, jump, jump. There we go. So that's it. That is a Zoetrope, and unfortunately I couldn't wait for it to dry with the wood glue. We didn't have time for that because the sun is going down. I don't want to lose the light. So that is how you animate using a Zoetrope. Tomorrow, stay tuned because we are going to be doing another style of animating. It's going to be much less involved than this one. This one here was just like, this one was probably the hardest one we're going to do this week. Cause the next one, it should be easier to put together, just like yesterday's one was kind of easy. Alright, so that's it. Zoetrope finished. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care.